Hey everybody, this is Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong. I have a journal that I wanted to show you this morning. This is one that I made for one of my sons. He loves to fish. He's my oldest, and he loves to go to the coast and deep sea fish and loves to visit ponds and he just loves to fish. So I have to share the cutest story. When he was little, I had two children, just him and his little brother. I was working full time, and his little brother was a baby, so Daniel would have been about 3, and he was very, very verbal. He talked early, he walked early, and my husband had gone fishing, and he liked to fish as well. And I was just having one of those emotional, exhausted days. I was exhausted, and I had to get the kids bathed, and just knowing I had to be up and be back at work the next morning. I had a baby, so just emotional. You can picture it. And I was a little annoyed that my husband was fishing. So I was crying out of just being so tired. And this son, Daniel, he said, "Mama, what's wrong?" And I said, "Well, sometimes mommies just get really tired." So he put his arms around me and he said, "Mama, when I grow up and get married and my wife cries, I'm going to say, 'Honey, do you want to go fishing?'" I thought that was the cutest thing ever. I don't remember if, I think it made me laugh, but oh, the irony. And so this is for Daniel, and I'm going to be giving this to him today probably, or tomorrow, so I wanted to go ahead. This was for his birthday. So I've got charms here that are just tied onto the binding, and I went ahead and tied another cord through the center, and it just, to me, it looks like some sort of fishing net, and these little things caught up in it. There's a seashell and a lock. I was thinking about a chest in the bottom of the sea, and there's a bobber, and then just a piece of metal. I love to see what washes up at the beach. All sorts of shells and things, and you wonder where they came from. Maybe a shipwreck or something. I'm going to flip through this quickly. I've been putting aside things for Daniel for a long time, and there's the card for Daniel, but just a lot of different, there's a poem, The Alarmed Skipper, that's got a lot of this in here has really good information. He's one of these people who can retain facts, and I think he gets that from his dad. But you can see just beautiful fishing images. Look at that old card, and the cat's out fishing. And then I've printed some art on the computer and just put in so many different things. There are little places that he can keep note of record fish that he catches, or places on a lake where he did well or didn't do well. And fishermen, some of them really like to keep notes like that. Daniel's dad always kept notes about things like that. So just a lot of really pretty cards that are in here. Oh, I love this postcard. Look at that. Lobster buoys, color-coded to indicate ownership. They make a colorful display. Isn't that beautiful? I knew he would love that. And that's some really pretty scrapbook paper. Of course, there had to be a lady in a swimsuit on the shore. That looks more like a lake. July 24th, 1949. And, of course, there is Blackbeard, Edward Teach. He was known for hanging off the coast of North Carolina. We have the graveyard of the Atlantic. There are a lot of old images in here, too. There's a man holding a string of fish. I love this bright wallpaper. This is a postcard of people actually out fishing, surf fishing. And that looks like it's up north. Lots of old images. Music, let's go fishing. Some boots. There's a recipe, Florida mullet. And more postcards. There's Hilton Head Island. Beautiful lighthouse. And look at this card. This is just so whimsical. Look at the lady with all of the shells. Just look at all of the detail in that. I love that card. It's called Beachcomber Ferry. And look at this old postcard. A Day's Catch, Ocracoke Island, North Carolina. I loved that this was North Carolina and that it's written in 1956. Daniel will love this. That's a Tim Holtz card. I believe Alejandrina sent me this. Thank you for that, by the way, very much. So when is the date? That is 1976. And look at that. That is from the set of Jaws. So just old book pages, beautiful wallpaper, and here are several postcards from the USS North Carolina and Wrightsville Beach, I believe Wilmington, the Battleship Memorial. We went there when Daniel was young, so put these in this pocket and just kept them all together. And that's not a complete image, but you can tell this is the back of a boat. Sanitary Fish Market and Restaurant, Morehead City, North Carolina. I'm just really excited to have found so many North Carolina pieces. And these came from greeting cards. They were just little pieces of fish, so I cut them out and glued them. Little pieces of fish. It was where the design was just scattered throughout the card. So there's another one. Beautiful wallpaper. I just think Daniel's going to really enjoy going through this. Where is this? Colorado. Western Beauties. Mountain trout. And there's an old image. The firewood bark, the Fred, was lost in a storm, Christmas Eve, 1933. I bet it was cold. You know it was cold. And I wonder, I would love to look that up and see if people were rescued from that or what happened. Love that. The coins and the seashells. Pirate's Legacy, Outer Banks, North Carolina. And there's a picture of, it's got sort of a Daniel Boone vibe. This man out in the wilderness, and you can see the deer in the background. One of the reasons that my son and his dad like to go fishing is because of all the nature. They both really enjoy seeing what's out there and just learning and watching, and just thought that picture was appropriate for that kind of atmosphere and just taking everything in. So it's hard to tell what this picture is. It's folded in half. This is a Hawaiian, it's an old page or print, and he has presented a fish, or is showing her the fish. At least she looks pleased. I was going to see if I could find the other side. Of course, we'll get to it, but yeah, there it is. So she's holding a fish, and he's got one on a line. More fish. Just beautiful pages. There's the center. I liked this for him to be able to put little notes or whatever he wants to right in the center, and I loved this image. This was one of my favorite things, and I didn't want to lose that. It's just a really large postcard that's older, and I sewed it onto the page. Put that right in the center. Stamped the words Under the Sea. Oh, and I love this. This is one of my favorites. So look at this old photograph of this lady. Look at the car behind her, and look at that massive fish that she's holding. She looks really happy with herself. This is, I don't think it has a date or anything on it. There's nothing written on the back. It's glued in there pretty good. So that's one of the cards I was talking about. It had little portions of fish, and it was a trifold. So I wanted just this frame part. Another postcard. That is Roanoke Sound. Pretty fish. Places to keep some records. And another beautiful postcard. Pretty ship. And I love that. That's Atlantic City, New Jersey. Look at the color in that and the fisherman. And then there's the charm with the seahorse, and you notice there's a seahorse on the front. I put this little keyhole or whatever, this plate that would go over a lock. I just really like that. Even though it's not, doesn't do anything. And it's interesting, the way I fastened that, I took brads and I used my awl to just punch through the fabric and make a big enough hole that these brads would go through. And the brads are big enough that they won't pass through the holes on this plate here. So then on this side, I took a couple of pieces of fabric and just sewed over where the brads are. You know, they're laying down flat. And I might have even put some glue underneath the little pieces that lay down. I don't remember. I left a lot of strings though because I wanted it to feel like fishing line or fishing net. And I don't know, I like that. So we've got the seahorse on the charm. And then there is the lobster pots, and that's at Maine. In Maine, I should say. A fisherman's paradise. The Big Lake of Florida is truly a fisherman's paradise. Year-round fishing, duck hunting. That's 1967. So he can read the back of that and put this little man just sitting here. I think he would rather be fishing. And then here's a fisherman's memorial, Massachusetts. And there's about the seahorse. So what year is this? 1949. And there's another seahorse there. I kept the back of the card. That's what that is. And I just like this fabric, that key with the wings. It made me think about a fishing lure. And just more vintage pages. And that was a postcard that it was already bent and torn, but it had a boat on it, so I just folded it over to make a tab. And then it looks like a campsite. And this is the Mary Z. Its port is in Morehead City, North Carolina. Love that. So there's just a little ad from a fishing or sports catalog. We've got Penn. They make reels. And there's another old photo of a man holding his catch. He's out on the dock there, Miami Beach, Florida, August 1951. And there's another old photograph. Look at the lady holding her little girl, and they're sitting there in the boat. No date or anything, but you can tell it's old. These are just some little informational pages from a calendar that he can peruse through. And there's one of the little tabs. I thought it would be fun to put the smelt there with the definition. That's a pretty card. These are illustrations from a book. This was wildlife in Virginia and the Carolinas. The illustrations were done, I think, in the 1700s. Oh, and I love this one. So look at this old picture. The house in the background. He's got his fishing pole there. This says William J. McLeese Jr. and Edward Latray, Cranberry Lake, New York, Evergreen Hotel. So lots of ephemera. And you know, as I'm cleaning out today, I put the snakes in because you definitely see things like that around ponds. Gotta be careful. I know Daniel's dad used to talk about going out fishing at night and being on the water, and at one point they got to a spot where there were snakes hanging in the branches overhead, so they moved as quickly as they could. I don't know of anything that would be any more startling than to have a snake fall into your boat in the dark on the water. Yeah, so I have to look out for snakes. And I love this. Oh, look at that. So look at him waving. And we've got the people in the boat. That looks so old. I mean, it is old, but just the vibe. It looks almost like a movie or something. No date on that. So here we're getting to the end. There's another Tim Holtz card, another pretty old postcard, and this is a really whimsical postcard. That's 2017, but look at the rods and reels. And then just places for Daniel to keep notes. So these are chocolates, believe it or not. Pastry chef Susan Morgan's creative Belgian chocolate seashells. And then here is a page about mermaids. Thought Daniel would enjoy that, and that's it. The only other things, I have this little bag of shells. Every year when we would go to the beach, when the kids were growing up, it was so much fun. My aunts and uncles, well, my aunt and uncle, that generation is what I'm trying to say, my mother and her sister, and then all of the kids, which would be me and my cousins, and then we had kids, so all of the second cousins. And we would always stay near the sound, so the shells would wash up. It's a really fun place to stay. So I've got all of these little shells that I picked up, and I put them in here for Daniel. Lots of memories, lots of memories. And of course, everyone used to not laugh at me, but I kept a journal every year of everything that was said. I took pictures, I wrote down all the funny things, and a couple of times, you know, someone said, like, are you really going to sit there and write everything down? And now you know we have this treasure. There is a beach journal that everybody loves to read, and I did this every year. I would come home with like 10 or 12 pages. So now we have, you know, after 10, 20 years of going, there are stories to go back and read. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up because I have to get ready for my sale tomorrow. I just wanted to share this before this goes to my wonderful, wonderful son. I love that child. I love all of my children. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.